Welcome to this year's Qt Contributor Summit. It's a little bit another one that we're having online. Would be great to have met people in person again this year, but we're not quite there yet. Hopefully we'll soon be able to do that again as well. It's a little bit of a special Qt Contributor Summit for me, but I'll come back to that one later on. As I said, for the moment, just welcome, and I'll start talking a little bit. Have some random stuff assembled here, mainly a little bit about what's happening, what's ongoing, and what's cooking for Qt 6.4. What's the plans for Qt 6.5? Also laying out a little bit, where the Qt company, who is the largest contributor to Qt, has its priorities, so that you can see that a little bit. And what I'm seeing there. A few topics also, about community-related things. And then I was thinking that I'll probably have a larger Q&A session later on. Let's see what comes up and what you guys are interested in knowing and hearing. But let's start off with a bit of new stuff in Qt 6.4. Some of you probably know a lot of those things already and have heard them, but it's probably good to have a little bit of a reminder. Those are the things we've been working on. Those are the things that are new, that are making it into Qt 6.4. And I'm certainly going to forget half of what people did and worked on. So, forgive me for that one. I'm just picking out a couple of things there, looking into a few of those things. Let's have a look. One of the big things that we're having for Qt 6.4 is that we're back to having full support for WebAssembly. That's something that has been worked on for quite a while. We had earlier versions in Qt 5 as well. But it's been a great ongoing effort, and the platform underneath has also changed to some extent. We want to make that now fully supported and have something available there. It's also an important enabler. I'll come to that a little bit later on for the future, looking into new platforms and operating systems. But this is really what brings then Qt into the browser, into the web, and fills one of the large platform gaps that we have had for many years. So I'm really happy we have that now. And the people working on it, Lon, Morten, have been doing a great job in bringing and pulling those things together. In Qt 6.4, there's a couple of new things also coming with Qt Quick. The language server linter is improving. And you'll also see, I'll refer a little bit to some of the other sessions that are coming later on in this Contributor Summit. So there's one session now about what's new in QML tooling, which will go through those things in detail. So I'm not going to lose too many words on that here now. I just wanted to mention that. There's also a large work ongoing on the QML engine side to look at how the infrastructure, how can we provide compiled QML, how can we compile QML down into native code, into C++. The first results of that are already out, but this is work that's ongoing, and we expect that there are still lots of things that will happen until Qt 6.5, and the next long-term supported release will come out for Qt. One level above that, on the Qt Quick or Qt Quick controls side, we've got quite a bit of work going into the item views, trying to complete those things, also into other parts like dialogues and things. The goal here in the long term is really to make sure that the controls are actually fully usable and something that people can really build also desktop applications with. That's one of the things where we've always had a little bit of trouble. The quick controls have been very much focused on the embedded side. They were pretty good for mobile, but on the desktop, certain things were lacking, and we want to make sure that those things are now in place and come in place over time. So the Qt Quick team there has been doing a lot of work in that area. We're also getting a brand new and for the first time ever native iOS styling for the controls. So that's a good effort that has been done by the team there, and looking really good, and something that we will hopefully then have also ready for 6.4, and then continue from there. There's a lot of work ongoing also in Qt Quick 3D. A lot of the work now after 6.3 has been refinement of the existing things that are in there, improvements, making sure that the physics-based rendering looks correct, things like reflections and a couple of other things. But there's also a couple of larger parts that made it into there. And there's a physics engine now integration that that has been worked on, and that's available now. Really cool stuff. So you can really define physics for your items in Qt Quick 3D. And I've seen some really nice looking demos there. I hope that we can get a demo of that one maybe later during that demo session that I was proposing later on. You can have collision detection, for example, with that engine as well, and handle things correctly. Lots of work ongoing into making effects also more powerful and easier to use. So there has been a lot of work going on into that part on the engine side of Qt Quick 3D. We'll get back to it also a little bit later when talking about the tooling side, because that's one really important part here, that we make sure that those things are actually easily toolable and accessible, not only to developers, but also to UX designers. But I'll talk a little bit about that effort later. I've personally been spending my last year quite a lot on Qt Multimedia, so forgive me if I talk a little bit more about that one here. Also, since I don't have a session later, I thought I'll give you an update on what's been happening there. Qt Multimedia is something that I've been working on with a couple of other people inside the Qt company. We've been aiming with Qt 6.2 to have a multimedia backends that are basically using whatever we saw as sort of the native framework of the underlying platform. So we were using AV Foundation on macOS, WMF on Windows, GStreamer on Linux, and something native on Android. It turned out to be quite difficult to support that with a, let's say, cross-platform functionality and set of functionality. Some backends didn't support certain things. So on AV Foundation, we couldn't decode WebM, for example, and many other video formats. On Windows, you couldn't get any subtitle support because WMF doesn't support any subtitles at all. And the list went on like that. We had lots of trouble with getting a consistent cross-platform functionality into Qt Multimedia. And that was a little bit of a continuation of what we've always also seen in 5.15. So we basically decided to go a slightly different route and make a new backend based on FFmpeg. The advantage here is that FFmpeg does a lot of that functionality itself. So it provides a consistent cross-platform functionality. And the FFmpeg backend is actually a cross-platform backend. So we support that on pretty much all our platforms now. And it supports all features of our public Qt Multimedia API. Fortunately, also we can get hardware-accelerated encoding and decoding through the integrations that FFmpeg has. With some gotchas currently, for example, hardware-accelerated encoding is currently not supported on Android. So we're looking into that and trying to figure out how to solve that one. But it works pretty well, and we're having a real good cross-platform experience with that. And we're then integrating that with the native audio devices and with the cameras through certain native APIs. So that has been a big effort. Now that's going as a technology preview into Qt 6.4. Hopefully then fully supported in 6.5. There's a second piece in Qt Multimedia that I've been adding and I have worked on. That's support for spatial audio. In Qt 5.15 we had a Q audio engine thing, which was basically also a little bit of that, allowing you to place audio sources sort of around a person listening in 3D space. But the API was rather limiting, and it was a QML API only. So we wanted to replace that with something better, and didn't manage that in time for Qt 6.2. But it's coming now with both a C++ and a Qt Quick 3D API. So the integration on the Qt Quick side is with Qt Quick 3D, because you are placing 3D audio into a 3D scene, and that fits very nicely there. So you can place sound sources now in a 3D space, anchor them, for example, in Qt Quick 3D also to physical objects. You could move around then in the room and see how sound sources get louder and less loud depending on distance. You can model rooms where you have reverb and reflections. And we're supporting things like headphone spatialization now. So when you put on your headphone, it'll actually sound, you'll get 3D sound. You'll hear things behind your head or in front of you, above you, below you, all of that work, as well as surround sound support for people having a surround system. And finally, the last thing we've added now for multimedia was also HDR video rendering. Even though that still has some limitations, it currently mainly works on macOS, and there are some issues bringing that to to Linux. We need to figure out how to get an HDR capable window behind it. I think so. There's some work that we still need to do, and it only works for Qt Video widget. Currently, it doesn't work on the QML side yet. But this is ongoing work. We have some of the basic support in there, and we can also nicely tone map things down to SDR if we don't have an HDR capable surface behind it. So lots of cool stuff happening there. It'll be good to see how that continues and what we can do there in the future. Other new items in Qt 6.4, we have in Qt Speech, another gap filler where functionality we didn't have in Qt 6 that we had in Qt 5. We've been moving over the text-to-speech part, which is the part that everybody used. The other APIs that we had in Qt Speech in 5.15 were never really implemented, so speech recognition was never really implemented and working in a good way. But the text-to-speech part is now back with a nice, slightly cleaned up API, but it's mostly compatible. We're not supporting WebAssembly yet, but everything else is supported and working. We're trying to get in a permission API so that you can ask for permissions for certain permissions like file access or access to certain hardware, mainly used on mobile and macOS. That's where permissions really are a thing so far. So that's hopefully still making it into 6.4. We have a new HTTP server component. Qt PDF is also back. There's a separate session about that one, so not going to say something there. And one thing that all the folks from KDE have been asking for is that QString converter can support non-Unicode, non-UTF codecs. So we've basically, Fabian has been doing some great work there. We've been adding back or working on adding back ICU support for that, for codec conversion from all kinds of encodings to UTF-16 that we use internally in Qt. A little bit about tooling. I think this is a big part. When we talk about Qt, we often only talk about the framework and the APIs that we're having. But the tooling is something that's becoming more and more important as we move forward. And I believe this is something that will continue in the next years, trying to make development easier by offering advanced tooling, helping developers, integrating also people that are not developers like designers and others into the workflow, and making it easier for them to also be part of a Qt-based development project. Of course, Qt Creator as an IDE, we have now version 7 out. We have a new versioning scheme that we got last year, which is rather nice. So now it's basically major versions only. It's upgraded to LLVM 14. We're now using Clang as the default backend for the code model. That was a change long in the workings, trying to move over to using a Clang-based code model, which was a difficult change because of performance considerations and other things. We have much better detections now of Android NDKs, really large improvements in the CMake support. So CMake support in Qt Creator is actually getting really, really good. And for those who are using the pre-built binaries, there's some Wayland support in there even. So good work there on the creator side. And I think there's a lot of interesting things going on also in the tooling, and how can we make those things easier? How can we improve our IDE, make development using Qt Creator much easier? The second big tool that we're having is, of course, Design Studio. Our 2D, 3D UX design tool, and it's really improving quite a lot, and we're seeing a lot of good things happening with that. A lot of interest from people, and I think also for inside the community, inside the open source community that are doing things with Qt. Design Studio can be a really good tool to help you create better user interfaces, more advanced user interfaces. And it does support all of Qt Quick controls, and Qt Quick 3D. At least that's the goal. There might be still a couple of gaps here and there when new functionality in those modules become available, and we haven't quite added the support on the tooling side yet. There's also a session about Design Studio, I think tomorrow, and talking a bit about Qt Design Studio, also how to contribute. So that might be rather interesting to see a little bit what's going on that side. And finally, we got a small new tool, really interesting for those of you porting from Qt 5 to Qt 6. If you do your own applications, you want to port them, there's a QMake to CMake script, which helps you port your build system from QMake to CMake. It's a small Python script, easily installed, supports most of what people use with QMake, and simply generates a CMake lists.txt from profiles. It will probably require a little bit of manual editing afterwards, but should take care of 90–95% of the porting work for you. So recommended if you're still on QMake and you want to move over to CMake. Here you have a tool that should make that a lot easier for you. Of course, the whole script is also open source. It's maintained on qtproject.org, and if you find missing features in it, bugs in it, contributions are certainly also welcome. Let's have a little bit of a look at Qt 6.5 and beyond. And this is very rough and just some basic things for the moment. But there's some things that are at least also to give you an idea of where the focus areas for the Qt company. And this is not everything, but this is some of the focus areas that are there and that I believe will be important moving forward. There's some generic features, improving on the compiled QML and the QML compiler infrastructure for the next year. There's one final gap that we're still having from Qt 5, and that's Qt location and the map rendering. what we've been seeing so far is that most of the users, actually almost all of our users, they need map rendering, and they need to be able to put objects onto a map, those kind of features. That's what they need Qt location for. So the Qt location that's coming to Qt 6 will most likely be a reduced API focusing on that use case, removing some of the more advanced APIs that were in Qt location in 5.15, but that were rarely used and not really working on all the platforms, like routing and navigation. Those APIs will most likely not be there. Focus on desktop and mobile as well. We have been spending a lot of the effort in the past also on making sure that Qt works really well on embedded. But I think it's and we believe it's time that desktop and mobile also get a good lift there, that we do work on that side, and things like modernizing the styles. If you look at Windows 11, for example, then our Windows style starts looking a little bit outdated, to put it this way. So there's work that needs to happen to make them, update them to whatever the latest versions of our platforms look like. Windows 10, Windows 11, latest version of Mac OS, latest version of Android. There's some work that needs to happen, and it's going to happen for both Qt widgets and Qt quick controls. We're looking into an RHI-based backing store, see if that can help us improve rendering performance, especially on very large screens. If you have several 4K screens or maybe an 8K screen even, those things are coming on the high-end desktop. We want to make sure that we can render fast on those screens as well. Let's see how that turns out. We've been talking about WebAssembly earlier, and one of the things that here might also be that we're looking into, can we get Chrome OS support and make that an officially supported platform in the slightly longer term. And then, of course, on the Linux side, Wayland is an important topic, continuing the work that we are doing there. There's also a session there around the state of Qt Wayland that you can listen to. Accessing data in the cloud on other servers is an important topic moving forward. So looking at protobuf, gRPC integrations, how can we simplify using REST APIs? Something that's a little bit simpler than having to do it all yourself through a TCP connection. GraphQL could be an option also to support. And let's see what else there comes. But in general, how do we access data in the cloud and make that as easy as possible? On the graphics side, 3D will continue to be a focus area. There has been a demo project now, if you look at it through the blogs, where you can see some AR, VR integration. Let's see what happens with that. I think this will be an interesting topic that when moving forward to look at what we can do in that space. Also fits nicely together with the physics and the spatial audio that I've been talking before. And a big part of that work is also toolability. There's a session of one part of that, the Qt Quick Effect Maker, that you can look at later during the Contributor Summit. But in general, a big focus here is to make sure that all of those things are accessible through graphical tools, and that you don't have to write all of that in code, because many of those things get too complex to really easily do in code. Python certainly will continue as well. We have 2 sessions on that one around general Python, and there's a session about Qt script with a Y. Going around, can we use actually Python for application scripting? Interesting stuff, and I think that we'll hopefully see more of that also in the future. And then one of the ongoing topics that have been going on for a while and that we've pushed back a little bit because it turned out to be a harder problem than we had hoped for, is the package management thing. There's a package management in general. There's a session around Conan that you can listen in, where that'll go into more details on that side. There's discussions around new C++ features, C++20. When can and should we start requiring C++20 compatible compilers? So should we require those? When can we start using features from C++20, and how can we make that happen? So separate discussion session for that, I think tomorrow. That'll be interesting to see and listen and hear what's going on and what we can and should be doing. Coroutines, a similar rather new functionality in C++ that we have not been using yet. How can we make use of them? How can we integrate them into Qt in a good way? Also, they are a separate session. An effort by the side, not really development and feature related, but there has been an effort by Kai and a couple of others to move over to SPDX license identifiers for our source code. And all of Qt is switching over to use those. So we'll have a two-line header with an SPDX license identifier instead of the lengthy copyright header that we currently have. So it'll be more concise, it'll be easily toolable, and it'll be much easier to verify that we have our licensing in order with that switch. Also, there a separate session going into the details for those of you who are interested in licensing and related topics. Please go there and have a look. Okay, with that, let me move over a little bit to the community side of things and talk a bit about that before moving over into a more of a QA session. Just a couple of words from my side, and this comes a little bit also because of where I am right now and where I'm going in the future. I personally think Qt has a really great community, and I'm really happy about the people that are in the community and have been there for a long time. It's very welcoming. People are helpful, they're engaged. I think most people in the community are also extremely competent. Sometimes have strong opinions, but that's very good. But we do still have very little flame wars compared to many other online communities. Very little bike shedding. Most discussions that I'm been seeing are, technical, to the point. We're trying to find solutions. I think that's fantastic. One of the things that we probably still need to do a little bit more is see how we can get new people interested and promote that. But for now, I think I'd like to thank everybody for being part of that community, all of you. And it's been really a great experience over all those years having that community. And I think this is one of the real strong points of Qt, that we have this engaged and really helpful community out there, and with people who really also love Qt, promote Qt, and help there. We have a new community manager. You've seen him this morning, Pedro. He started the Qt company in March, has been organizing the summary. I think he has a lot of plans for the community, how to grow it, how to help this. Please give him a warm welcome and help him get started. Help him also with growing and building our community. So I'm looking forward to lots of good stuff there, and it's fantastic to have you on board, Pedro.
Thank you.
We're also done a little bit of work on our webpage, qtproject.org. It's now contribute.qtproject.org. There's some work ongoing there. We have the landing page. The focus is for this webpage is really on content for contributors. So this is not about how do I use Qt. It's not for users of Qt. It's for the people who want to contribute to Qt and Qt project, showing what's there, giving you information about how can I contribute, what can I do with Qt, how can I do that, what are the processes, how does it work to get my patch in, things like some statistics, things like also the quips that we're having. But I personally believe there are quite a lot of things we could potentially improve with that web page. So we have a session around that one also later, and it would be great to get input from the community of what you think, what should be on that page, what can we do to improve it, how can we make information more accessible, also with keeping in mind how can we basically improve the experience, the onboarding of new contributors, for example. How can we make it easier for new people to join actually the Qt contributor community? So this is something that we should really be looking into. We have two community-related topics for the summit also. There's a session around ghost maintainers. So how do we handle inactive maintainers? We have a list of those. We have some differences between the maintainer page on the wiki and whatever Garrett thinks is a maintainer. It took also sometimes a long time to replace some of the maintainers. So how can we handle changes there better in the future? Just thinking also about updating things. People that are maybe leaving the community and new people joining, and improving that process. And then there's Pedro's session around the Qt community. A couple of thoughts from my side there is, for example, that the number of contributors and contributions that we have been receiving has been relatively flat over the last years. So there's a question, how can we make that actually more interesting? I think Qt is a fantastic product, and the Qt project is a fantastic open source project. But how can we make it easier for new contributors to join there? How can we make it interesting for them? What kind of topics can we do there? How can we improve that community we have around Qt and make it interesting for people to start contributing, engage themselves, maybe also with other things, not just pure code contributions, but also on other areas like maybe helping out other people, answering questions in the forums, looking bug reports, maybe smaller improvements to documentation. All those kind of things are important and good if we can get people want to help out with that. We should make sure that they can easily do that. And then there's of course the chief maintainer. We'll have to elect a new one because, as you all have seen, I'm stepping down. I'm moving a little bit onwards. It's been 22 years professionally with Qt, 25 years since I first started using Qt as a user. So it's been a long time, and looking at what Qt is right now, we have Qt 6.2 out, the first LTS release of the Qt 6 series. 6.3 is out, 6.4 is coming. I felt this was a good time for me to hand things over to somebody who wants to follow after me, and for me to start some new adventures. So I wanted to take that opportunity to first of all, thank everybody for the trust that you put into me for the last 10 or more years. It's been a fantastic ride. We've, started in Trolltech 20 years ago with, well, when let me think, when I basically signed the contract, the company was 11 people or 12 people, who then quite significantly, when we came into Nokia, we were around 200 people. We had a couple of years inside Nokia trying to change the world of mobile phones. Didn't quite work out as we had hoped for, but it was a fantastic experience, and we got a lot of cool things out there. We also in Nokia changed certain things, like implemented the open governance that we're all using now, so that we're all developing Qt in the same way out in the open as an open source project. licensing changes to mostly LGPL was happened during Nokia times. Things like Qt Creator and Qt Quick were new technologies that were actually done during the Nokia years and released during the Nokia years in their first version. But then, we moved out. We started again a little bit from scratch. People thought, oh, maybe Qt is dead after Nokia dropped it. But we managed to actually really have a fantastic 10 years after Nokia, grow things quite a lot. And I'm really happy to see where Qt is now. Proud of what we've achieved. It's fantastic. And for the next chief maintainer and for the future, it's also looking very good. We have two fantastic candidates. You'll have to think for yourself whom you want to have there. But I'm really happy we have those both Alan and Volker there as candidates. They're both great guys, and so I know that Qt, whoever wins, Qt will be in great hands moving forward. And with that, actually, I thought we'll take a little bit of a break. We have a bit of time because I'm almost done with my presentation. But thinking about whether you have anybody of you has any questions, I have a little bit of time now, and just ask me anything you want, and I'll try to answer.
There was one question in the chat about FFmpeg.
Oh, let's see. I didn't need to scroll back then to see that one.
So the question was, will the new FFmpeg implementation replace the old implementation, or will they coexist?
Oh, yes. So yes, the goal is that in the long term, we will be at least dropping some of the old implementations. The first one to drop, I think, will be GStreamer. GStreamer has caused us a lot of pain. It's really difficult to work with. The reason being that GStreamer seems to be mainly done and tested for static pipelines. So you set something up once and then you run your pipeline. But if you have to dynamically modify that pipeline at one time, something that happens when, for example, a user wants to select a different subtitle stream or a different audio language for a multi-language video file, it is extremely painful to handle. There's no documentation. And we've seen that we can do those things much better and much easier with FFmpeg as a backend. Also, since I think for WMF, I think we will also move over fully to FFmpeg. It's still not 100% clear what we'll do on the macOS, iOS side and on the Android side. We'll have to see that, or what the best possible move forward is there. And then we have, for example, a commercial QNX, commercial real-time operating system QNX, where we might be forced to continue to use the native backend because we might not be able to get everything working on FFmpeg. But especially hardware accelerated decoding. It's working in software, but pure software decoding is not very tempting on an embedded device. So we'll have to see that. But for the moment, we'll keep that one. Or we'll keep that those backends around, and then we'll hopefully make FFmpeg then with 6.5 the default on all platforms. Other questions? You can also talk, by the way. You don't have to put it into the chat. Okay, there's something from Christian. If I could magically change, add, remove something in Qt without any repercussions of people disagreeing with it, what would it be? Well, yeah, QString is a good one. Yeah, I don't know whether we would probably nowadays use UTF-8 for QString. That's if we could magically change that. would simplify a couple of things, but make some others a little bit more complex. But I think in general, it would give a more consistent experience. Right now, I just saw a problem where I wish for multimedia, I had actually split out the low-level audio part into a separate library. So that's something that is a little bit tricky to do now. But other than that, I have to say I'm mostly happy with the architecture that we achieved and that we managed to get also moving now towards Qt 6. So yeah, I think there's not that much nowadays. Unshare slides. Not seeing me? I think you can. Okay, do we render FFmpeg into a pre-built binaries on any of the platforms? Yes. The idea right now is that we basically link. There's an FFmpeg-based plugin, and we link that one against a statically built FFmpeg. That greatly simplifies the deployment for our users on with the pre-built packages and binaries. But of course, you can also link it against the dynamically shared library there if you want that. Security concerns is something that we'll probably need to take into account, meaning we need to keep those FFmpeg versions that we're linking against very much up to date. They're basically they come in through provisioning in the CI system. No further questions? Well, some people are typing.
Yes, the elephant in the room. Where are you going?
Ah, the elephant in the room. I'm going actually to. I'm joining a very small startup in Oslo. Well, actually, we're a little bit distributed, so we have also one person in Berlin and one person in Barcelona. But it's actually together with one of the founders of Trolltech, Håvard Noor. And it's a small startup. Håvard has been working on things there for a little while, and we now got funding round, and I'll be joining as a partner there, owning a significant share of the company. It'll be something completely different. We'll be looking into basically chat solutions in businesses. So that's Microsoft Teams and others, and how can we integrate, make workflows inside those solutions easier? How can we integrate them, for example, with other tools that people use in their business? What you're seeing in many businesses that people have that they have 30 different tools and they're completely disconnected with each other, and people jump between them. They have different chat solutions, multiple of them. Some of them have Slack and Teams, and jump between those. We'll look into how we can simplify some of those things. There's some customers already and some funding, so let's see how it goes. It's going to be fun, and it's also going to be interesting because I'll be looking into the complete stack from the server side all the way through to web clients and integrations with other applications, but not Qt related at all.
It will depend on the client.
Yeah. However, I'm also going to be a little bit available in the community, so I'll keep the maintainership of Qt Multimedia, at least for the moment. Maybe we'll find a new maintainer at some point, but I'll be available there. And I'll follow the mailing lists. I certainly have quite a lot of interest still in Qt and what's going on there. So, but let's see how much time I'll have for things with my new job. But I do expect that I'll have a couple of hours per week.
There is some questions from Friedemann, Lars. Maybe I can read the first one to you. What do you think about shortening the major release cycle to be able to exploit the evolving C++ features?
It's a good question. So first of all, I think we've been moving, even with minor releases, we've been sometimes upgrading the C++ version. With Qt 5.7, we moved over to C++ 11 and started using things there. So first of all, there's also the question about what is needed there. If we want to take C++ 20 into use, do we actually need a new major version for that? I'm not convinced it's necessary. We could maybe also get away with a minor version. So first thing to evaluate there is what's the benefit of doing a new major version, because that's usually a huge effort. It comes with things that we break for our users. Having at least the source compatibility is a big plus for many of our customers and of our users, that they don't have to adopt there. And I think we can't do source compatibility breakages too often without losing our people. I mean, if you look around, KDE is still in the process of porting to Qt 6. They'll hopefully be there in the autumn, winter this year, end of this year. But you can see that this is, for many users, it is a major undertaking, and that's something that we have to keep in mind. So I would at least be careful about not breaking source compatibility too often. Okay, is there another UI framework out there that Qt should keep a close eye, in your opinion? Probably yes. Flutter is probably one to really watch closely, how it's evolving, what Google is doing there. They've been pushing relatively aggressively into mobile space, looking more at the desktop. So far, there's not a whole lot of support for the on the embedded side, but they've been pushing that quite aggressively, and I think that one certainly you want to watch, and you want to also look at that. I think it's also important to look a little bit outside of our own bubble into what others are doing, and both on the framework side, but also on the tooling side. I've been now basically playing a bit around with Golang, just because I'll be using Go for a good part of my work in my next job. And one of the things that I saw there, for example, was the tutorials they have is something that we really are lacking. They have a fantastic tutorials, how to use the IDE, all the different features, walking you through them. This is something that we really, Qt Creator would really greatly benefit from having something like that. So there are certainly things that we need to look into, and it's important to look into some of those other technologies out there. Also, I think it's on the programming language side, I think it's really good if we keep a look on what's happening with Rust moving forward. So I would only recommend that, and spend some time with those other frameworks, with other tools, figure out what they're doing, and take that back into as input into how can we actually make Qt even better. Well, I just mentioned Rust. That was the next question. Language bindings like Rust. I think that could be interesting. I'm not sure how much work it is, but we have a lot of stuff available also with our with Shiboken and the stuff we did for Python. I think Rust could be rather interesting, but at the same time, what I'm seeing for the moment is that Rust is mainly then used as a community thing. There are not too many commercial projects currently still using Rust. So Rust bindings, whether they if you're looking at the commercial side of Qt and the Qt company, whether they could be sold and one could, pay back the money that you need to invest to create and maintain those bindings is something I'm unsure about. But I think it's certainly worthwhile watching that space and maybe doing them. Till is saying that they're doing something for Rust Qt interoperability at KDAP. So maybe something to look into. I haven't looked at it yet. Thanks for the note. Good. Anything else you're wondering about? Well, if not, then let's move on. I'm still around, for the summit. I'll be hanging out hopefully in most of the sessions. But let me just say, enjoy the summit. Take the time, ask questions, have a lot of discussions, participate in them. If there are new people here that are there for the first time, let's try to include them, make them feel welcome. And if you're a new person, don't be afraid to ask questions, even if they sound silly. I don't think there are some things such as stupid or silly questions. Get to know the people here, and also remember what Pedro said earlier. Please also, any conclusions that you have from the different sessions, try to record them in the wiki so that we can don't forget about the things coming there. And with that, thank you so much. I've used up almost all of my hour, and let's enjoy the summit.